this mythical John Muir Trail thing for a while from somebody. And we're now going to hear about the 12 days, the 12 nights, the 1,200 miles, the, what's another 12 here? The dozen bears he escaped from on the trail. Please welcome Patrick McGinty, telling us about his 12 days on the John Muir Trail.
On the 10th day of my trip, I was staying at Ray Lakes. I woke up really early because I knew that all these people were telling me that the hike up Blende Pass is really steep and you better start early because it gets really hot. So I decided I will do that. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I put on the usual same clothes I put on 10 days in a row. And it usually took me like 30 minutes to pack all my stuff and eat my breakfast. Since today was going to be a tough day, I took out the salami stick. Okay? This is what I eat when it's going to be a tough day, because it's got a lot of good fat in it. Now most people cut it up like normal. No, I eat it like a wild animal, because that's all I have time to do, and I can eat it while I'm hiking. So I finally got ready to go on this hike at 5:30, and the mosquitoes were really bad. But the first mile was pretty flat, and I noticed that there was a little ford, a pretty steep stream I had to cross. But after 10 days, I was like a ballerina going looking for rocks and logs. I could just jog across that like nothing. What a 48-pound pack on my back. Okay? Whoops, I'll have to throw that down there for now. But so I get to the trail, and I start climbing. And it's something like 2,000 feet. I'm at maybe, I've been climbing up this hill for about an hour and a half, and I gotta be there. Now I'm a JMTer. I'm on the John Muir Trail. I'm only on the trail probably anywhere from 12 to 20 days. I'm going north to south, but coming south to north are the PCTers. They started in Mexico and they're ending in Canada. They've already been on the trail for over 60 days. They're coming my way. During my trip, I saw 360 of them, and I only saw 3 JMTers. But this is good, because every time I see a PCTer, they give me trail intelligence. They tell me what's up ahead. Hey, how's the pass? What's the creek like? All those. So it was great to bump into PCTers. So on this day, as I'm climbing up towards Blende Pass, it's been an hour and a half. I'm sweating. I think I must almost be there. All of a sudden, I see a PCTer. And I said, oh, where's the pass? Is it like around the corner? He goes, oh, the pass? Oh, it's up there. I'm like, oh my God. I try not to show shock, because PCTers don't show shock, and I don't want to show weakness. I go, okay, great. And then as he's leaving, he goes, oh, and by the way, take the high road. It's like a canyon. You can't die. I'm like, what does he mean? So I climb up the mountain. You can see how steep this is. And there's a snowfield near the top. As I'm climbing, you can see the trail over here. I can climb straight and put on my spikes. But they said, no, don't do that, because it's really icy early in the morning. And you can actually slide and go for a ride. And it's not an amusement ride. Okay? So I decided to go up high, and I'm like, what is the canyon? You know what the canyon was? So many people have been on their trail. The snow was 3 feet deep, and I just had to walk like this so I couldn't fall. So I get up to the Blende Pass, and it's beautiful. From now, it's a typical day. I have to hike down 2,500 feet, take a break, and then hike up 2,500 feet towards the scary Forester Pass, 13,200 feet. As I get there, I'm 1,000 feet below. And just before I get to this lake where I think I want to camp, because I'm old school, I still use maps. It says there's a campground there. As I'm going, I see some PCTers. I ask them questions. Hey, did you see some campgrounds up at the lake? They go, I didn't see any camping. I only saw rocks. They kept telling me that. Hey, did you see any camping up there? Go to another one. No, I only saw rocks. Uh-oh. Because it's getting kind of late. I get to the lake. I look around. There's only rocks. I see no camp spots. What do? I see a PCTer coming down the trail. I said, excuse me, sir. Do you think I can hike up over that pass? He goes, what, are you out of your mind? The snow is deep. You'll pulse hole up to your waist and all this stuff, scary stuff. You can't make it. Do it in the morning. I go, is there any camping up there? No, I only see rocks. I said, okay. Oh, I notice you're a PCTer. You have an app on your phone. Is there any camping in the area? Let me check. Is there any camping here? No. Oh. Where's the closest camping? Over the pass and 6 miles. You just told me I can't go over the pass. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Where's there more camping? Oh, 2 miles, 1,500 feet down from where you just came from. Hell no! I'm not going back down. I'm like, he goes, good luck, and he walked away. What are you going to do? What am I going to? What would you do? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I found the JMT to be challenging, magical, and memorable. The John Muir Trail is in California. It starts at Yosemite National Park in the valley, and it goes for 212 miles to the top of Mount Whitney at 14,500 feet. Now I, myself, have been to Half Dome 3 times. I felt like I didn't need to do that. This is also the second time I've done the John Muir Trail because I started in Tuolumne Meadows and went to Devil's Postpile in 2 days, and the heat and the altitude just got to me. As a matter of fact, I have a picture. That's me. From 7 years ago. You know what's funny about this picture? I started the trip with the same shirt, the same shorts, the same socks, the same pack, and the same, just about everything except for the shoes. I'm like, that's interesting. That's from 7 years ago. But if you notice in this picture, I'm very sweaty. I'm from the Northwest. I start to melt at 75. Okay? When I did the trip the last time, it was the end of July, and it was in the 90s every day. And also, we're at sea level. This picture was probably taken at like 10,000 feet. I have a lot of trouble with the altitude. But in this trip, I did a modified version of the trip, and I started right about here. And I hiked in 12 days, I hiked 184 miles. That's 15 and a half miles per day on average. My shortest day was 12 miles, my longest day was 20. And it was through complete wilderness. I was alone most of the time. Obviously, I met a lot of PCTers, and I did hike with a 20-year-old kid who could have been my son for about 3 days. He kicked my ass because he's the one who wanted to go 20 miles. But it was a tremendous adventure. Now, what's interesting is I went with this pack. And you remember one of my presentations, I had to get a resupply. The heaviest this pack was 48 pounds. The lightest was 38 pounds. The PCTers were infatuated with my pack because their average weight of their pack was only 30 pounds. So they kept picking it up. They wanted to see me put it on because this is like old man's pack, okay? Because it's 48 pounds. And so I hiked with that whole 48 pounds for the whole 184 miles. Now something before I go into a couple other things is people have asked me if I have a trail name. No, JMTers don't have a trail name. PCTers have trail names, and they're all quite varied. One of the first people I met was Waltzing Matilda. I never did find out how he got that name, but I kept on calling him a wrong name. I kept on calling him Wilson. I don't know why, it's just stupid. Other people I met, Sparkles. I met Moses. He was 68 years old doing the JMT. That's old. That's like John Mason. Can you imagine John Mason doing the JMT? We had to pre-order that rescue helicopter, right? But he was 68 and his name was Moses. Other names, Megatron, Mule, Covergirl, and my favorite, Switchback. I'm like, wow, how does someone get a name Switchback? They said, well, he was with a group of friends and he had to really go to the bathroom. So he dropped his pack, ran into the woods 100 yards and started doing his business. What he didn't realize, it was just under the switchback and everyone was watching him. I thought that was pretty unique. But as I said, I found the trail challenging, magical, and memorable. How is it challenging? In 2007, the snowfall in the Sierra Nevada was 200% of what it normally is. 200%. So that meant all the passes were filled with snow, the streams were really high, and people were dying, getting injured, and it was quite dangerous to do the JMT. And this year I did it quite early, and it was still deemed very dangerous because they weren't giving out permits. That's why I only saw 2 JMTers, but the PCTers were still doing it. Now, what do I mean by dangerous? The streams are just filled with water and could sweep you away at any time. So it was very critical that you cross the streams at the correct time. Also, everyone kept talking about how steep some of these trails were and the altitude. And they were like, the golden staircase, like you're gonna die. This is the golden staircase. It went 2,000 feet just like this for 2 miles. Just went, and these rocks, I mean, Shaquille O'Neal would have a hard time going over some of these rocks in here. But this wasn't so bad. But also there's something called post holing in the snow. It's very dangerous because you can hurt your knees, you can hurt your feet, and sometimes you can go up to your waist. So you had to really watch out when you went over the snow, especially in the passes. Now the first time I hit a hazard, I wasn't expecting to hit it till day 3 or 4. But on day 2, I was just hiking along thinking I'm having a nice free flow here, and I'm hiking along, all of a sudden I stopped, and there was a stream. It was probably about 40 feet wide, 50 feet wide, but it was up to my waist. And I'm like, oh man, I wasn't mentally prepared to get wet. I'd probably have to pick up my pack and carry it. But then I went over to look for a log, and I had to go through these bushes, and I started climbing through these bushes, and I saw a log and another log. It was quite precarious, because if I fall up probably up to my neck. But I went for it. And what's funny is I was hiking, I had a cut-off shirt, and I'm really going slow on this log, and all of a sudden I looked, I had 80 mosquitoes on me. Yeah, I'm like, and I remember my brain going, that's not good. But I had to concentrate going straight, because otherwise I might have died. But as soon as I came off, I just killed them all and ran for the trail. So I survived that one. But it was until day 4 when the real stream crossing started happening. And I saw this woman, and she was a middle-aged woman, and I asked her, I go, were there any rocks or logs that I could cross this, because I can hear it. She goes, rocks, logs? No, you can fall off those. I go, well, what do you do? She goes, I just blast through them. I'm like, okay, she's a badass. So sure enough, I get to the creek and I see this Japanese tourist, you know, a PCTer, and he's like looking for rocks, and he starts looking at me, and I'm just like, what's this guy gonna do? Yeah, I just took the woman's advice. I just blasted through it. Which wasn't a bad choice. I mean, your feet get all wet. But it wasn't until day 5 that the real scary one, Bear Creek. Oh man, Bear Creek, this is Bear Creek. So I'm hiking along for 3 miles and I can just hear Bear Creek. I'm like, I don't know how I'm ever gonna cross that. It sounds scary, right? This is actually calm. It's actually 2 feet higher than this. This wasn't an actual picture. And all I saw was trail, 30 yards, and then trail. And I just saw this PC guy go, oh, I just crossed it. It was up to my waist. And I almost got pulled by the current down the river. And I'm like, oh my God. But when I saw it, I didn't ask him the key question. When did you cross? He crossed in the evening. You cross streams in the morning. They're lower. Because when I saw it, I went right up. I never even hesitated. I just blasted through it. It was only up to my knees. And I just remember I went right through it and went squish, 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 just kept going. So for 10 hours, I must have been scared to cross that creek, and I went through it in like 10 seconds. But you had to cross at the right time. You had to cross it early in the morning and not in the evening. The other thing that was scary were the passes. The passes were snowbound. So if you notice, this one here, it's clear and then it's just snow. That snow is very deep. You have to go early in the morning because there's something called sun cups. This isn't like very flat. It's sun cups. It's like little dips. You can really blow a knee, blow a foot, blow something. But you put your catulies on here and you just blast through the top of these. And then when you get up to Muir Pass, because Muir Pass was the scariest, you know, it's all clear. And this is actually an emergency hut. And then when you hike down, it was like another mile. It was 12 to 15 minutes, by the way. That's already 12 minutes? Wow. Holy crap. All right, I'm going to have to go fast then. When I went down this, the first thing I did is I went right up to my waist. It was 9:30 in the morning. So I had to get down. As I was flying down this thing, I heard all this commotion, and all of a sudden I look up, and I got the cognitive dissonance of a lifetime. There were 3 people in front of me, totally nude, hiking up this backpacking boots. I didn't get the memo, but it was National Nude Hiking Day. But it was very, very, very challenging. Now remember the first story I told you. What am I going to do? All of a sudden, when there was no camping, I actually found a camping spot right by the water, but it was very windy. If you notice all the big rocks around the tent, I had one of my tents almost blow off 2 days earlier, blow off a cliff and go into a lake, and I wouldn't have had a tent. So I was a little leery about putting it there, but it ended up great. And this is Forester Pass up here. So I had to cross this snowfield and this snowfield to get up there. I actually eventually found the camping spot, which is beautiful. And what happened in the middle of the night, this turned all to ice. And the next morning, I hiked up 1,000 feet to Forester Pass, which is 13,200, which is pretty incredible. And I didn't do it too badly. As you can see, the trail here, it's all ice. You see, it's the lake turned to ice. And I came up, went through the snow pass here. When I got here, it must have looked real cool because instead of going to the rocks, I started just climbing with these, I keep forgetting what the hell they're called.
Micro spikes.
Micro spikes, thank you. With the micro spikes, I just went straight up the mountain. And it was pretty easy. Now this Forester Pass is pretty dangerous because it's known for the chute. And this is why I had the ice axe. Because if I was there 2-3 weeks earlier, this is what it would have looked like. And it's pretty dangerous when people try to cross it, and people have really gotten hurt. So, luckily when I got there was no snow except for a little bit on the trail right there. And if you notice, if you look up from 1,500 feet on the other side, it doesn't even look like there's a trail. But it goes right up there, there's Forester Pass, and that's the chute that people fall down. Because the trail is built in to the mountain, which is pretty cool. So every day, when I did this trail, every day was a super challenge. It was either stream crossing, a pass, or something like that. The other thing was that this trail was very magical because there were so many beautiful spots in 184 miles. Because in this trail, I wanted to experience it, not just have it stick to my mind, I wanted to have it stick to my heart and my soul so that when I'm having a stressful day, I can remember that place. And one of the first places was the Dyza Lake, which John has talked about many times. I went up here, and I was the only person here for 30 minutes. There was nobody. And it was beautiful. It was silent. It was warm. There's snow all around. There's reflection. There's birds. It was beautiful. I soaked it in. I can go there right now. I could go there anytime. And that's just like Marie Lakes. I didn't even know this place existed. I went up there and I'm like, oh my God, look at this place. I sat on this rock right here for an hour in the sun. I had snow all around me except this view. And there was nobody there for an hour of silence, of beauty, all to myself. Another place was of Evolution Lake. Now what was funny about Evolution Lake, it was like 1,000 feet to get up there. And it's like 11,000 feet, so the oxygen's a little short. So when I was hiking up there, I was like, I was trying to get up there really fast, and all of a sudden I look up, and I see this 20-something PCTer come, really cute girl coming at me, and she's like wide-eyed, like, I think Dad's gonna have a heart attack! Call 911! When I saw her, I was like, oh, how you doing? I got my composure. But when I got up there, it was absolutely beautiful. I got up here at 2 o'clock. I had done 15 miles by 2 o'clock. You could see the trail right here. And it was just spectacular. And I put my tent right next to the trail. And during the day, when the bugs got bad, I could just get in the tent and look up at the mountains all around me. It was beautiful. The PCTers kept coming by, so I had a lot of company. When I put my rain fly on, I heard something outside, and my tent was surrounded by deer. So that was pretty cool. And then that night, I woke up in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was a half moon out, and the colors were just spectacular. It was just absolutely beautiful. The stillness of the scene was spectacular. And then when I put my back to the moon, my eyes adjusted, and I could see the Milky Way right above me. And then I realized it was mountain lion territory, and I could have get attacked at any minute, so I went back in my tent. The last thing I just want to talk to you about is the last day was Forest. I went over Forester Pass. I had 15 miles to hike to Guitar Lake. It was very hot, very beautiful. I get to Guitar Lake, and I'm just below Mount Whitney right here. And I'm with a bunch of Boy Scouts. And again, I see no JMTers. I'm by myself. And so I look up, and I got to get up there. That's a false summit. That's 2,000 feet from where I'm at. And it's probably a better view right there. And I'm going to start either at 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. I decided to start at 4 in the morning in case my light don't work. Remember my Hawaii trip? And so I wake up at 3:15. I start at 4 in the morning in the dark. All I can see is a little bit of the trail. I don't think of mountain lions or bears or nothing. Who cares? I'm just thinking of the trail. It's very cool. It's a great time to go. It's so dark I can barely see anything. So I convinced myself that even though I'm going up thousands of feet, that I'm actually going up flat. It's flat. I convinced myself it's flat. But then, because I read a book called Simple Meditation by Kurt Remington, gotta throw it in there. I remember he talks about meditation in nature. And then what I did is I developed a cadence when I was hiking so that I started meditating as I was hiking up the mountain. And this really helped me because this cadence, it was steep. We're talking no oxygen. And I asked somebody how long it would take to get up to the top of Whitney. They said 5 hours. Someone said 7 hours. But because I was using this cadence, it was like nothing. I practiced on this cadence. And I practiced on, oh, this isn't steep. And another thing I realized is when I had a negative thought come to my mind, like I'm tired, the sun's coming out, or I started thinking of work or something like that, I started slowing down. But when I replaced it with a positive thought of how cool the breeze is, how beautiful it is outside, how it's going to be wonderful to reach top of Mount Whitney, all of a sudden my pace started quickening. And before I knew it, the sun was starting to come out. And I couldn't believe it had been about an hour and 30 minutes. I could see the hoodoos up top. And then the sun was coming out. You can't see it on here, but I could see the alpenglow above the mountains. It was absolutely stunning. And if you wonder why they call it Guitar Lake, it looks like a guitar. And then I just kept on hiking up to Mount Whitney, and I finally got up there at 7 a.m. It only took me 3 hours to get up there.
Wow.
Because I was using cadence and meditation. And also, remember I was sucking wind going up Evolution Lake, and that was 11,000 feet. I'm at 14,000 feet. I went up at like nothing. I was like, wow. It only took it was 7 o'clock in the morning. And what's funny is when you get up there, you can sign on to the registry, and every time you press down the right, it says, well, that was easy. Someone put an easy button in there. I thought it was But it seemed so unreal because I dreamed of being up there, and all of a sudden, there I was. It reminded me of a year ago when I was at San Francisco Bridge, and I biked all the way from Bellingham. I couldn't believe I'm at the Golden Gate Bridge. And here I couldn't believe I'm on top of Mount Whitney. And there's only me, a German woman, and a PCTer sleeping on the top of the mountain. Now, the John Muir Trail, what was beautiful about it was me, my pack, and the trail. It was very simple. Every morning I woke up with a challenge. Every morning I conquered that challenge. Every morning I met PCTers and had lunch with them. It was outstanding. And at the end of the day, I finished the trail. I finished at least 15 miles. And what's funny is if you saw me at the end of those 15 miles, I could barely walk. I had my sore back, sore knees, sore feet. I could barely do anything. But then something happened. I just rejuvenated the next day and did it again. 12 days in a row. Again, 12 days, 184 miles. So to me, the JMT was awesome, but the JMT ultimately was challenging, magical, and memorable. Mr. Toastmaster. There you go.
All right, let's take a minute or three and